It's not, it's not hyperbole to suggest history is watching or watching. Your children and grandchildren will read about this day and what we do.
What it do, family and friends? Welcome back to the Church of Black Power. If you are not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell so you can be notified whenever these videos drop. Please hit that like button. I know it's irritating, but please hit that like button. Help me beat up this algorithm so we can get this message out to the ears that need to hear. And also make sure you're sharing. Share. All right. Now, with that being said, Biden has had his State of the Union address. And as we all suspected, nothing for Black Americans. Didn't even mention Black Americans. But there was a few things that I did mention I'd like to go over. Because I noticed that, he spoke about a lot of things, a lot of nonsense. He spoke about, providing weapons to Ukraine. Putin, if they beat Ukraine, do you think Putin's going to stop there? So we gotta arm Ukraine. We gotta get them weapons, funding and crap. Everybody stood up applauding. Yeah. It is so irritating to see so many black faces lending their blackness, once again, to other people's agendas. Has nothing to do with them. And they could get tossed to the wayside at any point in time. But they have no problem lending their faces and their stories to the people that's destroying their communities. To the people that's destroying their communities. So the first thing I want to talk about is that. Let's get into this clip.
It's not hyperbole to suggest history is watching or watching. Your children and grandchildren will read about this day and what we do.
Very good point. History is watching. And as reparations is needed for the foundational Black Americans, the descendants of American slave freedmen, we are being ignored and overlooked, all while you are giving and passing off funding and policy to people who aren't even citizens, people who don't pay taxes, and to people who can't even vote for you. So yes, history is watching. And I'm just going to take a stab in the dark guess. I believe history will be proud of what we're doing right now. I believe when our children look back and our grandchildren look back and see the fight that we're putting in because you guys are treating us the way that we've been treated for over 60 years voting for you, I think that they're going to be very proud of what they're seeing from the Black grassroots.
History is watching another assault on freedom. Joining us tonight is Latoya Beasley, a social worker from Birmingham, Alabama. 14 months ago, she and her husband welcomed a baby girl thanks to the miracle of IVF.
Once again, using black faces to further other agendas. The majority of black folks can't even afford that procedure, but yet they made sure to use a black woman. They made sure to use a black woman. They made sure to use a black woman in order to further these white women's issues, because they are the bulk and the majority of the women who go through those procedures. They are the bulk and the majority of the women. I wonder why they didn't grab a white woman. The other two women that he's going to be speaking about are white women. Why, when you're talking about things that concern reproductive situations, you go and grab a black woman, as if you wasn't just telling all these black women to go ahead and abort your children. You're fighting for abortion rights. So now abortion rights and the right to have a child in general, whether through a lab or anything like that, are now being pushed together, all as one right are they trying to claim. So you claiming to be pro-life, but you're telling black women to go and abort their children, and now you're trying to use a black woman to say, hey, look, we are pro-life because you guys deserve to be able to go to the doctor and have children too if you want to. And all that falls under Roe v. Wade. This is the nonsense that they're doing.
She scheduled treatments to have that second child, but the Alabama Supreme Court shut down IVF treatments across the state, unleashed by a Supreme Court decision overturning Roe v. Wade. She was told her dream would have to wait. What her family had got through should never have happened. Unless Congress acts, it could happen again. So tonight, let's stand up for families like hers. To my friends across the aisle, don't keep this waiting any longer.
Stand up for families like hers? You mean black families across America? Now, I don't know if she's a part of the lineage, but if you really want to stand up for black Americans, you would pass reparations, because we wouldn't have to deal with these type of issues if you were to pass reparations. We would be able to take care of the issue in whatever way we needed to, because the funding would be there. Our medical services would be there. Our protections would be there. But no, that's not what you want to do. You want to make it about white women and their rights of reproduction, while using a black face to springboard that shit along. Excuse my French. Let's continue.
Guarantee the right to AVF. Guarantee it nationwide.
Notice how they all looking at the bootlick Negro that they didn't selected to be there. Everybody got eyes on her. It's a black. We gotta do this for black people. This ain't got nothing to do with black people. Our agenda, our issues has been made clear, and people are doing everything in their power to go around, work around our systemic issues, our demands for change systemically, racially, and for them to cut the check. They want to walk around all that. Then give you this straw man here, or straw woman, and said, yeah, we need this done because we got to do this for the blacks. Her family don't deserve this. So which is it? Do you want us aborting our babies, or do you want us procreating? Because all while y'all allowing these illegal immigrants to bring as many people as they want and claim them to be family, you guys aren't putting no abortion clinics down there at the border. You guys aren't talking about putting abortion clinics in Latino neighborhoods or anything like that. But no, we need to fight for, reproductive rights for black women. Let's continue.
clearly. Those bragging about overturning Roe v. Wade have no clue about the power of women. But they found out when reproductive freedom was on the ballot. We won in 2022 and 2020, and we'll win again in 2024.
So basically what he's saying is it's women that gave Biden the White House. Well, if that's the case, how come the majority of women voted Trump? White women voted Trump, majority of them. Overwhelmingly, white women voted Trump. A large majority of Asian women voted Trump. And some Hispanic women voted Trump. You know who voted Biden in a large majority of things? Black women. And even though black men didn't like it, black men did vote for Biden at a high rate as well. But he ain't speaking to our issues, and he's all consistently throughout these 4 years, he's been deliberately showing his ass to us. He's been deliberately showing his ass to us. But he's expecting to take it again. I don't know, not from what I've been hearing in the streets. A lot of the black women that I'm talking to ain't feeling the way that Biden is saying they feeling. A lot of them aren't. And to be honest with you, a lot of the people who would usually try to take up for him ain't been saying jack. We ain't been seeing none of the shills. And if we do, they get ran off the turf real quick, and then we don't hear from them again for another few months or so. Like they had to go and let things cool and simmer down before they came out the house again. But we standing right outside the door gangbanging. Nah, come on outside if you want to. But these are the things that these people, these folks, they just going around taunting like, yeah, this is why we won here. Okay. Well, let that be the reason why you lose as well. Let's continue.
Folks, my inherited economy is on the brink. Now our economy is literally the envy of the world.
That man is stumbling, bumbling, and fumbling all throughout his words. Folks, when the economy was on the brakes. On the brakes. Let's run that back.
Folks, my inherited economy is on the brink. Now our economy is literally the envy of the world. 15 million new jobs in just 3 years, a record.
And just 3 years, a record. I wonder if they found some sort of dementia medication to put him on for short-term situations such as this. Because we ain't seeing Biden really coming out in mass like amounts of crowds, like actual grassroots of people, without it being a controlled situation. We don't see that. And I think because if we did, more people would be voicing their anger at him. But then I think that it would also mess with his mind state, because he wouldn't be able to keep up with so many people voicing their anger at him. So if they got him on some medication, I hope it's some strong medication. But from the looks of it, it might not be. Anyway, let's get to the next.
A record. Unemployment at 50-year lows.
All right, let's stop there for a second. Because I told you guys I was going to do a video showing how Biden has been misleading the unemployment numbers, and every president does it. However, I want you to take a look at this here. This article is from CNET, and it says the unemployment statistics are misleading. Economic hardships is much worse. And there's let's get to the part I have highlighted here. Let's start with the misconceptions. An unemployment rate of 3.7% does not mean that 96.3% of people in the U.S. are gainfully employed, nor does the official unemployment rate represent how many people are collecting federal unemployment insurance. A large percentage of people without jobs aren't even eligible to collect unemployment. Let me say that again. A large percentage of people without jobs aren't even eligible to collect unemployment, such as independent contractors, as well as employees who quit voluntarily or were fired for cause. A lot of workers who do qualify for jobless benefits remain without work long after their aid runs out, which is usually around 26 weeks. The BLS employment data comes from the Census Bureau Current Population Survey, which interviews about 60,000 eligible households each month. For the main BLS figure, called the U3, the number of unemployed people is recorded as a percentage of the civilian labor force. Let me reread that. I don't know why I was stumbling like that. The U3, the number of unemployed people, is recorded as a percentage of the civilian labor force. Individuals are classified as unemployed if, and only if, they meet the following criteria. They must be currently available to work and must have looked for a job in the last 4 weeks. They must be currently available to work and must have looked for a job in the last 4 weeks. So in that whole situation right there, in that whole paragraph, those couple of paragraphs there, what it's telling us is the numbers are a lie. The numbers are skewed. It's reading from one area when that area doesn't give an accurate depiction of what the numbers really looks like. That means that someone without a job who is not actively seeking work, whether due to pessimism, family obligation, or multiple other reasons, is considered outside of the labor force and excluded from the U3 figure. If you have an extremely low unemployment rate because you've got a whole bunch of people who don't think they'll be able to find jobs, that's not a healthy labor market. Let me read that again. If you have an extremely low unemployment rate because you've got a whole bunch of people who don't think they'll be able to find jobs, that's not a healthy labor market. That's a discouraged labor market, said Ryan Luby, a researcher with the McKinsey American Opportunity Survey. In addition, nearly 40% of the U.S. population isn't counted as part of the U.S. labor force at all, including workers with disability, students, retirees, active duty military members, stay-at-home caregivers, and people who are institutionalized or incarcerated. So, what is there left to say? What is there left to say? 40% of the U.S. ain't even being counted. And if you are being counted, it's very thin funnels that they're funneling people through. Let's hit this real quick, and then we'll go back to because I want to show you the difference between the U3 and the U6. The bigger number goes unreported. The widely cited U3 rate doesn't accurately represent the reality. Doesn't accurately represent the reality of joblessness in the country. But the BLS has another metric called the U6 that is more comprehensive and more revealing. That is more comprehensive and revealing, even though it's rarely mentioned by economists. By factoring in the unemployed who have given up looking for jobs, called marginally attached workers, as well as workers who settled for part-time employment but would rather work full-time, the U6 rate tends to be around double the headline U3 rate. So if you look at the U6 rate, it tends to be double what the U3 rate is. According to the U6 rate since September 2021, joblessness has been between 6.7% and 8.5%. 6.7% and 8.5%. That's a far away from the 33.7% that, Biden's bragging about. Am I right? But even that broader government figure makes bad jobs and insufficient part-time work look better on paper than they really are, according to Jean Ludwig, chair of the Ludwig Institute for Shared Economic Prosperity, or LISEP. To calculate the true rate of unemployment, referred to as true, LISEP's team considered people functionally unemployed if they work fewer than 35 hours a week, but want full-time employment, or if they make less than $20,000 a year, which is an extremely low bar. So let's take a look at what the true unemployment rate for 2024 would be. Let's go ahead and hit this here. Oh, wow. So the headline unemployment rate says 3.7%. But the true rate of unemployment is actually 23.3%. 23.3%. 23.3%. Okay. All right. Let's look and see what the black unemployment rate actually is. Okay. 26.2%. 26.2%. For Hispanics is 27.8%. And that makes a lot of sense, because since Biden been letting these people in, a lot of other people been getting on all these government subsidies and things like that. They haven't been working. So it makes perfect sense. Even the people who've been here went and got some of that stuff, got some of those benefits. So it makes perfect sense that the unemployment rate is actually higher for Hispanics. For white folk, it is still low. 21.7 is high, but it's way lower than ours. So when Joe Biden get to talking of this rah-rah nonsense about lowest unemployment rate, that's not what the actual data says. The actual data is telling us something totally different. 23.3% in January of 2024. So, yeah, that's got to stop. That has to stop. Look at this. That is ridiculous. All right, so let's go back to the clips and continue from there. I just wanted to show you guys. I wanted to show you guys that because I'm sick and tired of hearing the unemployment rate, the unemployment rate, the unemployment rate. It gets infuriating knowing how much of a liar Joe Biden is. Really, how much of a liar all of them are. But listening to Joe Biden, it is. It's very infuriating because he thinks that we're stupid and that we can't do the work to look up what you're saying that you're doing and show you, no, you're not. Now let's continue.
A record 16 million Americans are starting small businesses, and each one is a literal act of hope.
Let me also say this too. Biden don't get credit for anybody starting businesses, especially during the plan gimmick, because during that time, people had to make a way out of nothing. And with extra funds being given to us at the time, by way of stimmies or whatever, people decided to take a chance on themselves. But Biden, you wasn't the person that actually gave America the stimmies. As a matter of fact, you were the person who shut off the stimmies. You were the person that fought against the stimmies. You were the person that cut off the extension to the unemployment benefits. While you run around talking about unemployment that is record lows. You were responsible for Americans, many of them being more black Americans than anybody else, being kicked off of whatever program they were on that was helping them out during that time because you wanted to cut spending. That was you, Joe Biden. So you don't get any glorification. You don't get to take any of that glory and say more jobs has been created during the. That's not on you. Many of us have to because you're allowing these illegals to flood the areas, to flood the zones where black folk live. And they're taking jobs in those areas that would be given to black folk. So now black folk have to figure out another way to do business. You don't get any type of props for that. Where you're giving every bit of resource that's supposed to have been going to us, to a bunch of illegal people that hadn't voted for you, who didn't put you in office, and who can't keep you in office. Let's continue.
with historic job growth and small business growth for black and Hispanics and Asian Americans, 800,000 new manufacturing jobs in America and counting. Where is it written we can't be the manufacturing capital of the world? We are, and we will. More people have health insurance today. More people have health insurance today than ever before. The racial wealth gap is as small as it's been in 20 years. Wages.
Lies. Straight lies. You want to see the racial wealth gap and where it is? Since Biden wanted to bring it up, let's go there. This is from Brookings. Black wealth is increasing, but so is the racial wealth gap. Black wealth is increasing, but so is the racial wealth gap. I will be linking this article down in the description. I'll link all these articles, to be honest with you, down in the description. And you get to read it thoroughly. But I have some parts here highlighted that I like to read. And it's going to give you a better idea of what's really going on. According to the latest data from the Federal Reserve Survey on Consumer Finances, the nation's racial wealth gap increased during the COVID-19 pandemic. Between 2019 and 2022, median wealth increased by $51,800. But the racial wealth gap increased by $49,950, adding up to a total difference of $240,120 in wealth between the median white household and the median black household. The survey of the consumer finances is the most comprehensive survey on household wealth of the United States. Updated every 3 years, this data provides a representative outlook of our current and past economic landscape, which is particularly helpful in capturing the economic realities of households during the onset, peak, and duration of the COVID-19 pandemic. Let's continue. Even though wealth increased across the board, the data discussed here shows that not all people are reaping the benefits. I wonder who those people are. While housing equity increased for black households, other components to wealth building, such as corporate and business equity, did not, exacerbating the racial wealth gap. Centuries of discrimination in public policy, financial practices, and societal norms that limit black wealth accumulation have not been overcome. Let me reread that. Centuries of discrimination in public policies, financial practices, and societal norms that limit black wealth accumulation have not been overcome, and will require broad structural changes to rectify the long-lasting impact of inequality. The long-lasting impact of inequality. Wealth measures the total value of assets a family owns, such as housing and business equity, minus their debt, such as student loans and credit card bills. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Wealth increased unevenly. Median wealth, which provides the indication of the typical household financial security and capacity to invest in their future, increased at varied rates depending on race. Depending on race. Figure 1 using data from the Federal Reserve distributable financial accounts, shows that between 2019 and 2022, total wealth increase for all racial and ethnic groups. However, according to the survey for consumer finances, median black wealth increased from $27,970 to $44,890, but continued to lag other racial groups. In 2022, median wealth was approximately $62,000 for non-white Latino and Hispanic households. How is that when they beat us out in the actual unemployment? But here's a more shocking one. Not a more shocking one. The next one's more shocking. For white households, it's 258 from there. 258,000 for the white households for them. But for the Asian American household, $536,000. Let me reiterate that. For the Asian American household, $536,000. Asian American households' wealth data was only provided for 2022. Now, what happened, if you remember, when Biden came into office that boosted Asian America's wealth? Do anyone remember? Don't worry, I'm going to remind you. So, in 2021, Joe Biden what? Biden announces $49.5 million in grants to address Asian American xenophobia. So basically, just like Obama did with the stock market, where he boosted the wealth of white Americans by $100 trillion, your boy Joe Biden has boosted Asian Americans' household, and it could be higher now because it's 2024. But this was only looking at 2022. Their median income was $536,000. How is that? Well, I just showed you how. Your boy Biden. Your boy Biden. Let me get to this last bit here because it's very important. Like I said, I will be linking all this so you guys can go through this and read this, but I want to read this part here. The findings illustrate the systematic compounding of wealth, which exacerbates racial gaps. In other words, wealth begots wealth. Past and present discriminations in critical markets, including housing, banking, taxation, higher education, and more, results in lower average wealth for Black Americans, Black families. But I'm going to say Black Americans. Policies that privilege whiteness are reflected in higher levels of wealth for the average white family, which can be leveraged across generations to generation. Greater wealth and advantages. Let me read that one more time. Policies that privilege whiteness are reflected in higher levels of wealth for the average white family, which can be leveraged across generations to generation. Greater wealth and advantages. This became very clear during the pandemic. Black households made major gains through housing and business equity. See, that's conflicting because we read up there that in business equity, we did not. In corporate and business equity, we did not. Let me go back up and make sure that's what that said. Yeah, while housing equity increased for Black households, other components to wealth building, such as corporate and business equity, did not. So now it's saying it did. Conflicting, which means it didn't. But anyway, housing and business equity. Yet, that growth paled in comparison to white household gains from investment returns. Okay? And this is the last piece I want to read right here. And then we'll go back to Biden's speech there and close out. While growth in Black ownership of businesses and homes is a positive step forward, it is not enough to combat the compounding efforts of wealth. In lieu of any significant policy changes that impact wealth accumulation and distribution, racial inequality will likely continue to grow. Racial inequality will likely continue to grow. Efforts to close the racial wealth gap includes progressive tax policies. Nope, I wouldn't. Well, no taxes, sure. Okay, fine. Or reparations from the private and public sector. That's what we want. We want reparations. Period, point and blank. The policy, the tax-free policy, all that, that's cool and dandy. Yeah, that's fine. But reparations is what's needed immediately, right here, right now. In tandem, both will act to ease immediate disparities and put us on a path of recoverance so that racial wealth equity might be seen in our lifetime. So let's go back to Biden. I just wanted to have that conversation with you. I wanted to read that to you and let you know that that's bull stuff. Biden's a liar. The racial wealth gap has gone nowhere. And it is not shrinking, it is increasing. No matter how much money we're making, it's not enough to close the gap out. Especially now that they done boosted the Asian household income to $500,000 plus. $538,000. So don't let this man lie to you whatsoever, family. We smarter than that. We smarter than that. And that's why we the new black media, because we get out here and we do the work. We have the numbers. The facts are on our side. And that's why these people disappear like Houdini when you hold their feet to the fire about black Americans. That's why these people try to make it about everyone else. And when you try to bring it back to you, they then try to tug on your heartstrings to try to make it about everyone else again. Then you bring it back to you again. And then they try to make it very clear to you that they're not going to be able to do nothing for you. Now let's continue this.
Keep going up, inflation keeps coming down. And so does this. In November,
before I let the last of this clip play, because it's a very, he did not mention black Americans once. He didn't mention us as a group. He didn't mention us as his core base. So, the people that he did mention and give reverence to, I hope he's counting on them to get out there and put him back into offense. I hope he knows that we're voting for President Couch for 2024. Because President Couch has always had our backs, most quite literally. And it's time for us to have President Couch's back. So 2024, I hope the Democrats, the Dixiecrats, the Dummycrats don't expect for black Americans to run to the polls and vote for Biden. Because we're going to be way too busy voting for President Couch. President Couch sound real good in his last state of address. And let me see if I can remember the last what was said. Oh yeah. If they're not giving you nothing, stick with me. And I think that should hold dear to everyone's heart within the black community. If they're not offering us anything, well, why not stick with President Couch? Because President Couch, at least we know literally, quite literally, he has our back.
my team began serious negotiation with a bipartisan group of senators. The result was a bipartisan bill with the toughest set of border security reforms we've ever seen. Oh, you don't?
Got booed about the border. In a room full of Dixiecrats, in a room full of Dummycrats. Got booed.
Think so? Oh, you don't like that bill, huh? That conservatives got together and said it was a good bill? I'll be darned. That's a...
Oh, you don't like that bill, huh? Conservatives got together and said it was a good bill. Well, I'll be darned. You know damn well what you're doing and why people don't like it. But watch him try to make it seem like it's a necessary thing for him. If we don't get this bill, I can't do nothing about the border. If we don't get this bill, I just can't do nothing about the border.
Amazing. That bipartisan bill would hire 1,500 more security agents and officers, 100 more immigration judges to help tackle the backload of 2 million cases, 4,300 more asylum officers, and new policies so they can resolve cases in 6 months instead of 6 years now. What are you against?
The fact that you'll be able to just allow them to flood in and continuously, you'll have control over that. The fact that they're not supposed to be here in the first damn place, and you shouldn't have more of these people needing to be hired because you yourself are allowing these people to flood the gates. You removed every policy that Trump had in office to keep these people from being here. When Trump was in office, it was like 500 migrants a day. Now it's well over 7,000 migrants a day. That was done by you. You removed it. You created the problem, and now you're trying to say, give me the power to fix the problem. When you already have the power. You have the power of the pen. All you got to do is sign that notice and everybody would get deported. Obama didn't go around telling Congress, give me the power. Obama was just deporting people. He became King Deport. Trump didn't go to Congress to get no power to deport. He just deported. But the thing is, you don't want to deport. You want to bring in as many of these people as you can, get them citizenized, get them their citizenships, their green cards, their work visas or whatever, so that you can get them their right to vote for the Democrats in the future. Don't think we don't know what's going on here. You're trying your hardest to replace a group of people who are irreplaceable. In the words of Beyonce, I don't like to quote her, but damn it, we are irreplaceable. There is no group that can replace Black Americans. And when you pull them in, they always break bad on you and go vote Republican. Because they more tend to vote Republican in the first place. Their views are more Republican. And they're anti-Black. Just like the Democrats are anti-Black, but they like the Republican anti-Black more than they like the Democrat anti-Black. They don't like the nice anti-Black. They want to be the rude, mean, obnoxious anti-Black. So miss me with this, give me the power.
100 more high-tech drug detection machines to significantly increase the ability to screen and stop vehicles smuggling fentanyl into America. That's killing thousands of children. This bill would save lives and bring order to the border. It will also give me and any new president new emergency authority to temporarily shut down the border when the number of migrants at the border is overwhelming. The Border Patrol Union has endorsed this bill. The Federal Chamber of Commerce is, You're saying low. Look at the facts. I know you know how to read.
He said, look at the facts. Like people can't see with their own eyes what's going on. Like people don't know that it was you that opened the border in the first place by eliminating all of Donald Trump's executive orders when it came to migration and immigration. Right now, you have the power to deport anybody, whether being legal or an illegal immigrant. And you're not utilizing that. God, this man right here thinks that people are so stupid. Look at the facts. The facts are right here on the table. And you guys are literally putting on blinder shades, the same kind of blinders that the horses wear, and you're running this race. The difference is we don't have on blinders like you or anybody in your party.
I believe that given the opportunity for a majority in the House and Senate would endorse the bill as well, a majority right now. But unfortunately, Politics has derailed this bill so far. I'm told my predecessor called members of Congress in the Senate to demand they block the bill. He feels political win, he viewed it as a political win for me and a political loser for him. It's not about him, it's not about me. I'd be a winner, not really. Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of thousands of people being killed by illegals?
You just seen how he minimized that death? But he also made it worse for his own case. How many, yes, that's tragic. I'm sorry for the family, but how many thousands of people have been killed by illegals? That should be more of a reason why you are locking down the border. You should do what your predecessor has done and what his predecessor has done when you was his vice president. Barack Obama had no problem shutting down the border and talking about why it needs to be shut down and continuously guarded. But let Joe Biden tell it. It's necessary to have it open. It's a humanitarian situation. But right there, he just called them an illegal. Because they are illegals. And they're evaders. They are invaders.
To her parents, I say, my heart goes out to you, having lost children myself. I understand. But look, if we change the dynamic at the border, people pay these smugglers $8,000 to get across the border because they know if they get by and let into the country, it's 6 to 8 years before they have a hearing. And it's worth it taking the chance of the $8,000.
No. They know that when they get into this country, they're going to get all these subsidies that you guys are providing for them. Free housing, free clothing, free food, scooters, $9,000, $1,000 here if you have families up to whatever. They know that you've made them a promise, and so they're doing everything they can to get here. So working with smugglers, that ain't even on their radar. They don't even care that they're working with smugglers to get into the country. They're just trying to get in the country because you have made them a promise that reverberated across Central America and Southern America and the world, because people are literally coming from all around the world to get through the border, to get into the United States. Miss me with this stuff.
But if it's only 6 weeks, the idea is it's highly unlikely that people will pay that money and come all that way knowing that they'll be able to be kicked out quickly. Folks,
do you hear how nonsensical that sound, family? If it's only 6 weeks, it's not likely that they would pay all that money to come here to only get kicked out. Well, if you're not letting them in, they wouldn't travel all this way. If you wasn't funding them, they wouldn't travel all this way. If you wasn't giving them everything that should be going to Black Americans, we wouldn't have this problem. We wouldn't have this problem.
I would respectfully suggest my Republican friends owe it to the American. The idea is it's highly unlikely that people will pay that money and come all that way knowing that they'll be able to be kicked out quickly. Folks,
look at this brother shaking
I
his
would
head.
respectfully suggest my Republican friends owe it to the American people, get this bill done. We need to act now.
All right, family. There we have. Those are the clips I wanted to go over with you, family. Wanted to let you know. These folks ain't getting no more serious. So since they ain't getting serious with us, let's make sure they know we ain't serious about them. We gonna give them excuses. We gonna let them know that we're not, I'm sorry, I'm voting President Couch this time around. He actually promised me something. And when they ask you, what is President Couch? Me seeing you get out of office. See you later. And with that being said, family and friends, if you are not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell so you can be notified whenever these videos drop. Please make sure you're hitting the like button as we leave here so that we can beat up the algorithm together so this message can get out to the ears that need to hear. And please drop a comment. Let me know what you think about Biden's so-called State of the Union address. And tell me, did you know about any of the situations with, the unemployment rate being a lie? The whole situation with the racial wealth gap going down being a lie? And how do you feel about Biden getting up there lying about those things? Please let me know. And make sure you share this out to your friends and family as well, family. And with that being said, the doors of the church are now closed. Peace, family.